it could have been so different, Joey. He only kicked 1 of 5 goals that night. So what's his mindset at this stage? Because Andrew Webster said that he put his hand up and said, I'll take it. But when you've missed so many,
he was horrible.
Do you have head noise that whole time thinking, oh, my goodness, I'm going to lose them the match?
There was one where he hits the post and you can see his face. It was just... But he stood up, the young man, with the game on the line. I've got to say he's growing as a player. Every time I see this one here, watch his face. Oh, mummy.
You missed him all to the right. Oh, you didn't learn.
Yeah, he's growing as a player. He's really growing.
The thing about that one that he missed at the end, they were right on top of the Warriors. They led 18-6 at that point. Had he kicked, it would have been almost game over. But that just gave the Broncos a little bit of a sniff, and they forced an error off the very next kickoff. They kicked off, forced an error off one of the front rowers, then they scored off the back of it. Reece Walsh threw a beautiful cutout pass, and then it was game on. They come back, add in all, and obviously Reece Walsh, that was into the wind. There was a howling wind the entire game. So he's obviously put a bit extra on it, thinking I've got to try and get it somewhere in the end goal. He's absolutely hit it flush, and it's just gone dead. You felt sorry for him, but Metcalf, what a moment to kick 50-metre out, winning play.
Well, he said he watched Sean Johnson do it.
Yeah.
And he said, I'd love a moment like that in my life. And he said the moment when the ball went dead, he said, all I could think about was that, just watching Sean Johnson.
The Broncos, their first try, there was their blueprint. Attack out of dummy half. Geez, they're poor, the Broncos. When the games, geez, Ben Hunt had a night to forget too. But those real ugly games and the real high pressure, this year they just haven't performed. Canberra bustled them out of the game. Last week the Roosters bustled them out of the game. And this was another. It was an ugly night, and they couldn't get over the line in that arm wrestle.
Reece Walsh was injured, and definitely when they got up that Westpac red zone, that's probably the only thing he did all game. Beautiful cutout pass, but other than that, he really struggled with his knee. They did score a try right on half-time, the Broncos, which was disallowed. Now, I got to be honest, I thought it was a try. It should have been a try anyway, but obviously the referee ruled a forward pass pretty early on, which was, by the end of the match, pretty critical. But, yeah, I agree with you, Joe, in their attack. They're just lacking a little bit at the moment. They moved Selwyn Cobbo back to fullback at one stage. Reece Walsh, as we said, he was injured. So they've definitely got to improve in their attack.
It just sums up the roller coaster of rugby league, doesn't
it? Doesn't it? And you think, Hunt, as you said, he's a fantastic, very, very experienced, but he had some terrible moments last night.
I think it changed when Ezra Mann gets back. I think he'll have some punch and a real run threat in the halves. Last night there was no run threat.
He actually moved to hooker at one stage last night, Ben Hunt. There was a couple of sets where he actually moved into hooker. So that, as we said, with Ezra Mann coming back, that will probably be his position. But there's a couple of blokes who are just going to give up their spot. Corey Pakes, he's going really well. He's going very, very good for the Broncos. He's been outstanding.
Originally, when the Broncos were flying, there was chat that, Ezra has to earn that spot back. But you think now that the attack's been a bit clunky, he just slots straight back in there?
Well, they're very similar players in a way, Reynolds and Hunt. And you need a run threat. There's no real run threat at the moment. So I think he comes back into the team. He'll add a lot when Ezra's back. But there was a blueprint. Yeah. Wet conditions, you attack out a dummy half and you play through them. There was hardly any attack out of dummy half. Payne Haas gets the ball, there's no support. When Payne gets the ball, there's got to be waves of support. Someone hitting, someone coming late. He just bumps them off. The ball's there's no one there.
All his offloads to backwards. There's not the people running through space, they're just backwards. So it's another tackle, but it should be a line break.
That's Reece's job. Reece in the halves. Can't expect your big man to say, hey, get us a quick play of the ball. You've got to get in and help him, support him, but as waves of support. Just get on board with Payne Haas. No one can tackle him.
If you had to pick, not that you picked the origin side for the Maroons, but Kalen or Reece?
Kalen, yeah.
I think Kalen's so far in front. Reece Walsh hasn't had the best start to the year, to be honest. He wasn't great last night. He did get injured. Hopefully for him it's just a contact injury. It's nothing too serious, but I think Kalen's... We're not too concerned about Queensland, but I'd say Kalen's way in front at the moment. Yeah.
Well, the Broncos have a chance to bounce back in Thursday night footy next week. This will be an absolute cracker up against the undefeated and top of the table Bulldogs. That is on 7:30 p.m, live and free on 9 and 9 Now next Thursday. The other match last night saw the Panthers get back to their winning ways, and Freddie, probably safe to say that it was their leaders who stood up. So we saw what we've come to expect from the likes of Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin, they were all really carrying the young players in this side.
Yeah, I think like Penrith, when they go well, they're all playing well. The second Alamonte try was right on half-time. So it was 12-6 at half-time, and then really they just belted in the second half. It was real typical Penrith. They just completed high. Their defence, their fast-moving defence was working. Their kick chase was back in order. Good to see the two new recruits score tries, Papali and also Blaze Talangi. What a great scrum tab that was. I've seen that in a grand final in 2016.
Yeah. Mitch Kenny was a big in fronty. He's a good player.
He's good, isn't he, Mitch
Kenny?
He's such an unsung hero of that side for many, many years. He's outstanding. But I listened to this game on the radio. I was on the way home, and it seemed to me Penrith were just happy to play their old style game where they played the long game. They're happy to just complete. That's exactly what they've done for years. In the past few weeks, they've lost. The basic fundamental errors they've made are just very un-Penrith-like, and they got that out of their game last night and obviously got the win. I'm talking just errors, drop balls from halfbacks, drop balls in the play of the ball, forwards dropping the ball. They just never make their mistakes, but they obviously cleaned that up last night and had a good win.
Pressure. Field position and scoreboard pressure, and they just waited for the opposition to buckle. It's been the same formula we've seen for the last 5-6 years, and they found their rhythm. I still don't know whether they'll make the 8, considering Origin period. They're going to miss 4 or 5 of their best players. They'll need to bank some points before Origin.
Nathan Cleary also became the highest point scorer for the Panthers of all time, overtaking Ryan Girdler. You said over the last few weeks, Joey, he needs to dumb it down a bit and bring it back down for his teammates. Did you like what you saw last night from Cleary?
There was one piece of play. This is it here, where he kicks early and he leads the chase. And it got him down there. They tackled about 2 metres from the line, and then they end up getting the ball back on their halfway, and I think they scored the next set. But that's the sort of play that he needs to do. And
that wasn't the only time he did that either.
He did it a couple of times, didn't he? And that really inspires his young players. Goal kicking. Look, he's going to break every record in the game. He'll break Cameron Smith's record for most points.
He's missed 2 this year, 7 from 7.
His timing on his kick is just beautiful.
Now that Dylan Edwards has had a couple of games under his belt, he's just continuing to get back to his best as well. Fully fit, are you still picking Dylan Edwards for Origin? Because it was a great battle up against James Tedesco last night, who, even in a losing Roosters side, is always close to their best.
Well, there was plenty of errors around Dylan during the game, but he scored a try, he saved a try on James Tedesco, and he set up 2 or 3. So he's walked away with the points.
Correct decision. No try, and no penalty try, and no sin bin. For me, this was all accidental. Stop looking at it in super slow motion because it tells a different story. Show things in real time.
Yeah. I think it showed there, he pretty much ran into his space. Tough one, but although they got a few calls, most probably the Panthers, but they were better. They were the better team.
A massive win for the Bulldogs, but it all started even before the match. Freddie, you and I were out the front in the precinct, and the team did the walk from the hotel across then to the Centre of Excellence and underneath, which is something that Stephen Crichton, I believe, took from Origin camp.
Yeah, we did it during Origin. We actually first did it at the MCG because I realised the bus trip was 25 minutes and the walk was 5. So it just made sense. But it was like a grand final atmosphere. It was a shame not many South fans turned up because it would have got to 80,000. There was no South fans there. It was all Bulldogs fans. And I've got to say, the footy team just backed it right up. They were incredible.
What about someone like Toby Sexton, Joey? So there was a bit of a knock on him earlier that at the start of the season that perhaps he wasn't a premiership winning half, but Gus over and over has backed him, so has Cameron Ciraldo. And in a team of, let's just say, not many superstars, but everyone's doing their job, including their half.
Well, that shows there he's a run threat. If he sees space, he likes to run the ball. He knows his game. When he was at the Titans, I'd see flashes of it, but there was no consistency. I even watch him, even the way he carries himself and the way he's out in the field, you can see he's so much more confident. His kicking game is first class. He defends strong. So good to see how well he's playing.
They're such a good team. Like, I think you asked me the other day, Joey, can they win the comp? And I said, look, at the moment, it'd be hard to say no, they can't. But I mean, I look at it at the start of the year, and I think you look at Toby Sexton, Connor Tracy, and I just think you look at teams that won the premiership. The Panthers last 4 years, they've got 5 or 6 rep players in their side. Superstars. When you look at this dog side, they don't really have a lot of them, but what they do is they play like a team. They've got a team of absolute workers who work so hard for that 80 minutes. Now, we spoke earlier, Joe, can they keep it up for 26 rounds? It's going to be a big effort because they work harder than any team I've seen for a while. They work so well as a team together. They hunt from the inside defensively. It takes a lot of fitness, so they're obviously a very, very fit side, but can they keep this physicality up for 26 rounds? That's going to be the test for them, but they're a fantastic side of the mate. They're going so good.
But when you all work harder, it becomes easy. If you have a look at the club, their two women's teams are sitting in the top 2 in both their age groups. The game before this, their reserve grade, they won by 50. They've just got their club humming at the moment. It's obviously, you know, they've got off the field working very well, and then on the field, it's doing exactly the same. They're breaking records galore, like holding teams to 0. They're, you know, I think they're down to 9 points a game, or 8 or 9 points a game now. So the last 6 of the last 8 premierships have been decided by the best defence. Have a look at the way they defend their line. There was a period there towards the end where they were down to 12 players, and they just defended their line. The last 10 minutes of the game. It was just inspiring.
Well, looking forward to this Thursday's game against the Broncos. I mean, when you have a look at the teams they've played the Sharks in there. I think they're a genuine top 8 side. Not too many other, sure how many of the genuine top 8 sides there's been, but you know, we all considered the Broncos at the start of this year to be a premiership threat. Well, it's going to be a good test for both sides this week on Thursday night. It's going to be a fantastic game if the Broncos turn up and play to their potential.
The other thing they've shown is actually it's a great thing to do on a Sunday or for entertainment. 65,000 people. It was a great day.
Cheaper prices for seats.
Yeah, Gus gave out some $10 tickets. I was just having a look who else they got. They've got the Roosters coming up in a couple of weeks. They've got the Dolphins. They've got the Broncos. They've got the Dragons. They've also got the Eels on a Monday game. So there's a couple of big days where, you know, they can really set a standard for the league and supporter groups to get out and support your team because, Dad said, the Dogs were unbeatable. 15 minutes into that game, they just weren't getting beat. And I've got to say, the crowd had a lot to do with it.
Harry Grant out for 4 to 6 weeks. Reid Marnie flying at the moment. Cameron Munster said yesterday that Marnie's ready for an Origin debut.
Yeah, 100%.
Would you put him
Very fit, defends strong. Yeah, he's ready-made for Origin. Geez, that's a bad miss for Harry Grant for Queensland and also Melbourne. But no, if he gets his opportunity, he wouldn't let anyone down for sure.
They've got Ben Hunt, obviously, he's the other one. He can play hooker for
Well, Ben Hunt plays, he complements it, plays half and
off the
hooker.
off the bench mainly. So yeah, hopefully he'd love to. Obviously, I don't know him too well at all, but he'd love to play Origin. He's a fantastic player. He's a competitor, which when you play Origin is what you got to be.
And he's got that mongrel, right? Like you just can't. Something you can't teach. You've either got it or you don't.
Yeah. So.
Well, the other one is Kurt Mann.
Yeah.
So Kurt Mann coming off the bench at the moment, like he's played hooker before, played a lot of hooker. So whether you play them both, you know, showing what they do for the Dogs at the moment. A lot of that energy through the middle.
They've got 5 or 6 players. If they play at Origin, you wouldn't be surprised. Preston, their back row, King, Curran.
Overs.
Like they're overs. Like they got some players that if they were to be picked in Origin, I wouldn't be surprised at all. They are going so well.
Well,
At the start of the year, I wouldn't have considered them. They wouldn't have been even considered, but they're going so good at the moment. You've got to consider them.
Up at Suncorp Stadium, 42-22, the final score over Premiership heavyweights, the Melbourne Storm. Freddie, they had a slow start to the year, the Dolphins, but 3 in a row. They are on song and just saw some great attacking flair all night.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries on as well. Their back rows are in and out of the team, and it just feels like they're getting a little bit of rhythm. I thought the way they were down 16-2, and the way they bounced back, I thought they could have just capitulated. And Melbourne were on fire. They were moving the ball fast. Everything was happening, and everything was really positive for them. But they did. They just turned it around. And once they do, I don't think they're nearly undefendable. They're so fast, and they have so many different points of attack. And then the halfback was just clinical. It was brilliant.
It doesn't happen often where Melbourne are leading by that amount and a team comes back and beat them. Normally they're the best front rows in the competition. They get in front and they stay in front.
Never happens.
They scored 7 tries straight, I think, didn't they? The Dolphins.
40 points.
Yeah, they hammered them. So, they're a good side. I tipped them to make the top 8. I was really disappointed with them at the start of the year. I thought they had a couple of players didn't come down because of the storms going on up there, which may have affected them. But they've gotten over that and they've hit back, and 3 wins in a row is probably getting to where they should be.
How would you like to run into Ray Stone in a dark alley? Well, you'd be sweet. You wouldn't care.
He's a
Me and
psycho.
Freddie would just
He's mad.
Yeah.
run for our life.
Look at the head on him.
Oh,
How good is he?
terrifying.
He loved it.
And he's put 2 tries last
Double from
the
Ray
other night.
Stone,
Yeah,
yep.
he's playing
It
really
wouldn't
well.
surprise me some sort of documentary on him at some stage in his life.
Let's hope not.
Hey, what about the microwave man?
Josh Kerr.
Josh Kerr.
So for everyone that doesn't understand, Salty was saying in commentary, it's allegedly true that, who knows, that Josh Kerr's parents put a microwave in his room because they wanted him to grow taller as a kid. So they wanted the radiation to... That's what Salty was saying. Call in Salty and correct us if we're wrong, but Billy and Cam and Salty were talking about it all night.
I'm usually the one talking absolute BS, but Salty's gone to another level.
It worked with the size of him. He's a big boy.
He had a great game. Salty, correct us if we're wrong, but Izzy Katoa, as you mentioned, had a great game. But Cody Nikorima, that was vintage Cody Nikorima, wasn't it? I mean, the flick pass was the highlight, but all round.
Bit of Benji Marshall about that one. They complement each other. He's a real run threat, dummy and go, speed. Him and Katoa really complement each other. And there he is, our man.
Oh.
Yeah, he's on top of his game at the moment, Nikorima. Yeah, early in the year, I thought he was quite poor, actually, but he's really picked his game up. Their next 3 weeks, they've got the Dolphins, they've got the Raiders away, then they got the Roosters, and then they got the Eels, and then the Warriors at home. So, all winnable games. There it is there on the screen.
Joe, I know you love Katoa, but he really is such a fan. Like he for 21,
21.
Is he? 21 years of age.
Yeah.
Will he compete with Nathan Cleary when he's his age, you think?
Yep, without a doubt. Without a doubt. We've got 10, 15 years of watching this young man grow as a player. Frightening where he could get to in the game. He's, when Nathan finishes up and Moses finishes up at rep level, he'll be New South Wales halfback for years to come.
Has been a tough travel schedule, as we've heard. They've had 3 games in 11 days. But, Freddie, what do you put it down to? They've been a bit clunky, haven't they, the Seagulls?
Yeah, we'll come back from the Daly Cherry Evans announcement. They won that day, and since then they've just been a bit off. It's hard at the moment. If you're a little bit off, you're going to get beat. Travel, you can throw it all in, but there's no excuses. Everyone goes through these periods of the season. And I've got to say, the Dragons were great. I don't know how they weren't in front by more. Manly to be able to hold on like they did. They got back into the game. Ruben Garrick actually had a kick from the sideline to tie it up, but just missed it. But watching him run, Val Holmes is the other one. Watching him run as well. They should have sound effects people around them.
There's some blokes when in the clear. How good that the hammer's another one. There's some blokes that look so good when in the clear. But I think Freddie summed it up really well. Manly side is a little bit off at the moment, and if you're a little bit off in this competition, you're going to get beat because anyone can beat anyone. And I do think the 5-day turnaround come back from Perth wouldn't have been easy, but they're professional these days. That's just the way it is.
No Paseka, no Josh Aloiai, and Jakey Trbojevic went off after 7 minutes. So didn't have much go forward, but very clunky in attack. They were poor, Manly.
The one thing that was good, though, they changed on the run. Le'ai Hopewadi was working with Ola Kawatu. He wasn't having his best day. Plenty of errors around him. Come around the other side, set up 2 tries, and the team looked totally different. So I think they've got something to move forward with, having Le'ai understanding where he most really plays his best footy.
Well, they got Penrith this week. Do you think they'll beat Penrith?
Well, I think they're a chance. Look at the comp, but Penrith at the moment, what they did in that second half, I feel like they're going to be a different team for the next month.
Yeah, that was so scrappy. In particular, their right side's normally so lethal. They had an off night.
They had a real off night.
I don't want to say Ola Kawatu played poor because he scares me. He scares me. Gal said he played off.
Look, he's an outstanding player, but he had a night to forget, that's for sure. But he's a quality player. He'll be back. That's for. But it looked decent. He on that side threw some passes that weren't great either. So the whole side didn't play well. Very clunky in attack, as it was said, but. Look, they're still good players. They've got to get Turbo back. Without him,
they said Turbo back
this week.
Might be this week.
Come back this week, eh?
Well, you got the bye the following week. Why would you risk Turbo?
Yeah, may as well hold him off. Anyway, time will tell. But Joey, I hope you're ready. It's time for the award-winning segment. Turn it up.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Our PM, he better be ready.
I hope he's ready.
You've been watching another production from Nine's Wide World of Sports.